Uranium stocks are very likely to get volatile this week. We have some major news to cover. This has to do with Rosatom, Russia, nuclear energy, sanctioning. We're going to cover the big issues that the world's talking about at the Z plant there in Ukraine, what this means for sanctions, because President Zelensky is calling on the world today. I'll show you the videos, I'll show you all the data to sanction Rosatom, all the nuclear industry from Russia, as well as individuals. Now, there's a lot of publicity right now for the Z plant. We're going to talk about how that plant right now, how everything is safe, and we're going to go into the details. I'm going to show you a lot of interesting facts about that, as well as what we might see this week for uranium. It looks like the inflation bill is going to pass. The vice president actually did the tiebreaker, 51 votes. So this looks like it's getting through. They have this 20 hours and it is going into the night, 20 hours of debate. So it's going to be a very massive week for uranium. And as always, I'm covering it for you all. Go ahead and check out all my other videos this weekend I'm posting on uranium. A lot of big stuff. President Zelensky, Ukraine is calling for the world to put tough sanctions against the entire Russian nuclear industry, especially Rosatom, which is the Russian state-run nuclear company, and all related companies and individuals after they're aiding in Ukraine's reactor takeover. Now, there's a lot of publicity right now on this, and I'm going to show you why everything is safe right now. This is President Zelensky, and the translations are on there. This is what he said. Today, the occupiers have created another extremely risky situation for all of Europe. They struck the Z nuclear power plant twice in one day. This is the largest nuclear plant in our continent. This is all of Europe. Any bombing of this site is shameless crime and act of terror. Russia must take responsibility for the very fact of creating a threat at a nuclear power plant. And this is not another argument in favor of recognizing Russia as a state sponsor of terrorism. This is also an argument in favor of applying tough sanctions against the entire Russian nuclear industry, from Rosatom and all related companies and individuals. So as you can see, this is a very big deal. This was just released now. I broke the news. So currently, they actually just put this out that Rosatom is at Z in Ukraine, coordinating a special program to cut off Z from the energy system of Ukraine by damaging artillery to the lines. We're going to talk about that. There was fires actually at some of the lines there, the big high-powered power lines. We're going to talk about exactly what that means. I'm going to show you a lot of interesting data. A lot of people don't know this type of stuff about these nuclear plants. They are very safe. And what obviously this is doing, there's so many eyes, the West could implement sanctions, and this is going to be another MacArthur River flood, and it's probably going to run uranium prices well into the $100. So this is actually just put out. What I just told you, this is Z's, social media, and they're putting out all this information right now. And one of the things is they're really calling out Rosatom, because Rosatom is not innocent in this. Now, Rosatom is at the Z plant there, which is the largest in all of Europe. Now, it is very unlikely that there is going to be any type of major issues to the extent of any type of meltdown. And I'm going to go into that details. But they're literally calling them out. They're saying there needs to be sanctions, and they're saying that Rosatom is now an accessory in this, and that the International Atomic Agency, they condemned this violence, and they yesterday said that the shelling of Z testifies to the real risk of a disaster. But it's very unlikely that this happens. We saw the same thing in March, at both places, Chernobyl and Z. And it is safe now. The reactors, there is no high radioactivity going on. They can shut these down, but there is, spent fuel there, and we can talk about that. Now, I think that Russia is more likely using this in a sense as a shield and trying to play the blame. But Rosatom here, these are all the Rosatom officials, and they're very tied in with Putin and the government, okay? Putin created Rosatom, and there's no reason that the U.S. should be depending on them currently, especially in this phase. Now, all of these other companies and individuals have been sanctioned, right? But why not Rosatom? And it's because it is a main artery, and that's really what's happening. Putin and Russia, they have taken over Z plant. It's the largest, in Europe, and they're looking, because it is a major artery. And if anything happens, that they really have control, that they have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands now, soldiers there. And there's a lot of interesting videos I'll show you in a minute. But I'm not the only one that has said this in the past. When we saw the war start, I said that it's very likely these sanctions happens. And Quakes and I were on the same accord. And he also said that the company Rosatom admits in helping seize Z plant and Chernobyl in PPs. Rosatom's involvement in takeover of Ukraine's nuclear power plant by force could result in severe sanctions against the corporation and the entire industry. Now, this is even greater today. This was back in March, okay? And I've been saying this, but guess what? Russia is now sanctioning anyone who has investments in any type of energy, including uranium, okay? They can't pull anything out, and this is today. Is Russia about to cut off nuclear energy, nuclear support, enrichment, all to the West? It is very probable. I think that could happen. Now, we will go into detail in a minute about the Z plant, all of the safety, what's going on. Nobody's reporting on this type of data that I'm about to talk about. Everyone's just a little worried. I don't think it's anything to be worried about. But right now, it looks like this inflation bill is going to probably pass. Now, it is live on the floor right now, as you can see here. There is the debate going on, and they have brought up some good points. This bill is going to cause inflation, almost guaranteed. It's an inflation reduction bill, but it's going to cause inflation. But it's great for nuclear energy. Okay, we need it. We need that 4.3 billion for U.S. enrichment. I think this paves the way. We need the 700 million for HALEU. They're obviously wanting to get up there and talk about this. It's getting a lot of publicity. It's going to be the biggest climate bill ever. So everyone wants to probably get up there and talk. Now, there are some things about the bill that has been, pulling it back, and it's basically healthcare, not the energy part. Now, back to the Z plant and back to, there's a lot of FUD out there. A lot of people just, they see Chernobyl. A lot of the, green people out there, they're trying to utilize this as a need to say that nuclear is bad in some ways, but it really isn't. And it is very safe. And we're going to talk about the specific facilities there. Now, this is from Barron's. Russia must take responsibility for nuclear plant terror, says Zelensky. So that is, it's going out all over the web. And, whether you guys believe in what's going on, there's obviously, I've had a lot of people in the comments talk about how, certain media is spinning things. All that I know is that there is an invasion in Ukraine, and the plant there have been fires, there have been attacks. And there's video of all this, and I've seen it. I'll watch it live. Very safe. These plants are very safe. They can shut them down. I'll let you know in a minute exactly what plants of these 6 are up. I've got the data here. Now, if we look over, we have 6 plants in a row. This picture kind of shows what was going on. This is where that fire happened. When I watched it live, and all of us in the Discord were watching it, we were like, this is, there's going to be a lot of FUD probably, and the uranium stocks were volatile, so volatile, up and down, 100%, up and, down 50%, back up 100%. It was crazy times. Now, on the World Nuclear Association, they have a lot of data on this, and they have updated this, but in the past, they have not updated this in the past couple weeks. Now, they are starting to take the stance. In the beginning, the World Nuclear Association was trying to be more like in the middle and trying not to get political about this, obviously. But it is starting to get to the point where now they're condemning Russia, and pretty much everyone is now. They're condemning the actions of Rosatom, and really Rosatom is working with Russia, and they're trying to, what it looks like, either cut power or divert this power and take control. They are in control. Now, BBC is reporting, and in Europe, a lot of times, they like to get clicks sometimes. They, with Chernobyl and when Z first happened, they were really pushing a lot of, in a sense, FUD. There's no meltdown going to happen. There's really no risk right now of that. I believe that both countries there are smart enough to be able to shut these down. Now, there are freak accidents that somehow could happen, but it's very unlikely that any of that would happen. When the war first started, you were able to see exactly at the Z plant what the output levels of each reactor was. This is a timestamp of what it was back in February. You can see, it's a massive amount of megawatts. These reactors were up 1, 2, 3, and 4 were up, 3,374 megawatts. Radiation levels obviously were low, and they were doing, very well. Now, they have, in the past couple weeks, the radiation levels still were low, and there are no reports of higher, we would know if there were radioactive leak or something, but the plant is very safe. So these 6 plants, these reactors at Z plant, they're Russian designed, and they were commissioned in 84 and 95. It's a full pressure single containment, which has the shape of a hollow cylinder with a spherical dome and a flat bottom. The reinforced concrete wall of the containment is 1.2 meters thick in its cylinder-shaped section and 1.1 meters thick in its dome section. There's an 8mm steel liner on the internal side of the containment. Spent fuel assemblies removed from each reactor at Z are initially stored for several years in racks and spent fuel pools inside the reactor containment. Once successfully cooled, fuel assemblies are transferred to a dry fuel storage facility situated at the site. At the Z, the dry storage facility is protected along its perimeter by a concrete wall 30 centimeters thick and 6 meters high. Spent fuel storage at the dry storage facility is in concrete containers. Now, they really don't have a risk of fire damage. If there's a fire, they're going to be able to get this out. I don't think Russia would want this to catch fire either. That, in my opinion, I think that they could shut down the reactors, the ones that are up. They did shut one down yesterday, and the reactors that are up, they are at low capacity as well, is what's being reported. And what we see here is the spent fuel could be one of the situations, but in my opinion, is very safe. Those facilities, the containment, are very structurally safe. What they're using right now, these rockets, these mortars, they're not bunker busters, okay? They're not like Moabs. They're not dropping US type, missiles and bombs on the facility. But yesterday, the operators of the Z plant said that the Russian missile strike had forced the closure of one of the power units, adding that there was a risk of a radioactive leaks. So they're able to shut it down. We're not going to see a meltdown. That's what a lot of the news has been saying. They've been saying this since March. So this obviously is not going to affect long-term uranium contracting. China, I don't think will care at all. Even if there was another Chernobyl, I think that they're still going to put out their 150, 160 reactors. And, it's not going to change the East at all. Now, the West, it does give them somewhat ammunition. What's been going on in France has been very unfortunate as well, with them shutting down some of the reactors for a while temporarily because of the water and because of other issues that they're having. But it is a crazy time. I think that uranium prices are going to see a lot of volatility, probably more on the upside, because we have a lot of big things that, I covered in my last video with long-term contracting starting. We have mergers with UEC starting up. They have a better offer than Denison. We have the overall market, I think, if this passes, the overall market probably should rally as well. And then we have, obviously, the record amount of money coming to the energy industry, and it's going to help the U.S., and I think it's really going to pave that way for the Biden $4.3 billion. Now, the world is waking up. There are rallies currently right this second with people standing up for Ukraine, calling Russia a terrorist state. These videos were from earlier today in Paris. So there's a lot of people waking up to this. Probably going to see sanctions. We're probably going to see the list these type of people. And remember, if any of these people, which some of them already have been sanctioned in the past few days, that's another thing I covered. The more people get sanctioned here are likely to try to have Putin push a nuclear energy and obviously enrichment sanction to the West. They've already put legislation in their government in 2018. I've talked about this so many times. Why wouldn't they do it now? Why wouldn't they do it if there's sanctions on everyone here, and now a few of the heads of Rosatom sanctioned? Their next step, obviously they've taken over a nuclear power plant. Their next step is to cut it off from the West. Am I the only one that sees this? Okay, am I the only one? It's not like it's going to kill them if they don't export nuclear to the West. It's going to be going to the East, and that's their backup plan. And we're having debates right now on this bill. And I think it's going to be a very big turning point for the overall US nuclear energy renaissance. And this is why I talk about this 24/7. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please hit the like and subscribe button below. And if you want access to all this information, which I'm able to break it in my Discord before anywhere on the web, before you guys are able to see this video, all this information I get out in my Discord. I have contacts around the world. I have bots scouring the internet to find this data. Because remember, information speed, all that is everything. And that's what I'm trying to create, is this Bloomberg terminal for uranium, because it's the biggest upside. There are massive upsides to this type of industry. And there's a renaissance happening. Now, like I said, I want to tell everyone that it's going to be very volatile, but I do not think that there's going to be any type of disaster or meltdown. I think it's just like it was before, but I think the world's starting to wake up to the fact that the US and the West need to sanction Russian uranium, need to sanction the individuals, need to sanction Rosatom, and start depending on our own. We were the leaders in nuclear energy. That's why we have the most reactors in the world. We literally were the leaders in all this. We are pioneering everything. And now it's time to get back to our roots. And in order to do that, we need uranium production, and we need uranium enrichment. The only way to do that is to get these bills passed. And let me know in the comments below. Is there going to be another disaster? Are we going to see another March volatility? Or are we going to see this spike up because of all the bullish side news? Now, I think that it's a pretty much golden swan winning this battle against this black swan. This black swan being, the FUD that we're starting to hear about the plant, about meltdowns, and really people don't understand the way it works. They can shut these down. It's not like, Fukushima or anything. So it is, crazy, but it is also showing that these plants are safe. So let me know in the comments below. We're going to see crazy volatility. Do you guys like these videos? Should I keep making them? And until next time.